This presentation is made possible by these amazing individuals and organizations. Whether it was through Patreon, Super Chats, Super Stickers, or by watching, liking, and commenting, I really appreciate each and every one of you. Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Retro Nerd Girl, broadcasting live from the International Science Fiction Space Station. And I hope you guys are doing really well. I was a little quick on the button pushing today, so didn't complete everything. And I just have a brand new intro, and I hope you guys liked it. It was a little short. I know it's not the usual, but it can get to the video much faster, I suppose. That is the thing that's happening. Let's look at the comments. So there's a lot of comments so far, and I'm really like blown away by that. We got Daryl Johnston first says, hit that like button on your way in. That would be great. Thank you so much for letting people know about that. Good to see you, Daryl. Daryl says, the only movie I can think of now is 2010, the year we made contact, 1984, Roy Scheider, John Lithgow, and Helen Mirren. Yeah, I saw this movie a long time ago, and I really need to take another look at it. It's been a long time, so I want to watch that one again. And William Blake Hall is here and says, hey Daryl, hey Retro, just wondering if this is going to be the big finale. Yeah, 2010 is a great movie in its own right. No, actually, as let's see if I have the list here. It's a long list, pages and pages and pages and pages. It's a lot. It's a lot. I've got a lot of feel-good movies on here, and I thought of 2 more today. Yeah, there's a lot. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna do it all in one sitting, or we're not gonna try to make all the Fridays be feel good Fridays. That would be nice, but we're going to mix it up with some other topics, and especially since I've got one more feel good Friday, and then we're going to talk about some other topics for the holidays. So if you can bear with me, we'll work it all out. We'll work it out. And Lord Toth is here. Great to see you. Says hi everyone. Hi RNG. Great to see you. And let's see. Unicorn Rampant Studio is also here. Says wave all. Let's see. William Blake Hall says Pittsburgh in the house. And William Blake Hall says, appreciated your comic fan comments about Reed Richards to Unicorn Rampant Studio. See. Oh, and just saw you on the other channel that I was just on. Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU is here. And the other live that I just got off of that I saw Taylor at was Anti-Derivative Jill's channel, a very great channel. Just wonderful talks about pop culture and science. It's really, really into the science, and I love it. Let's see. More from the gang here, and Unicorn Rampant Studio says, always felt like it was admitting defeat, but at any time Reed Richards had to help. Ooh, interesting. And Pouty incel with a hot, smart wife doesn't make a good hero. Well, I hope that they can figure out a way to make him exciting and fun, and a hero and a true hero. Let's see. And Keith E is here and says, "Choke. What do you call people who help Santa? Subordinate clauses." Nice. And let's see. Um, and William Blake Hall says, "What gets me is that he's the big brain. Well, Sherlock Holmes is a big brain, but he inspired all kinds of interesting representations." And let's see. And Keithy is here and says, it looks like we're going to have a new opening to the channel today. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for remembering. Let's see. And I think you guys can hear me okay. I didn't see it yet, but I think you guys can hear me. William Blake Hall says, I'm moving to a new place in downtown Pittsburgh. I can hang around here to the end of January, but I'm busy preparing around here anyway. Oh, cool. Good luck with moving and everything. I know it's not easy to move, but when you have the opportunity to do so, definitely hope everything goes smoothly. um, let's see. Uh, uh, see. All right. I think you guys are talking about Pittsburgh there. I'm not sure what that all means. And William says, okay, loud and clear, hailing frequencies retro. The ISFSS is looking fine. Oh, the new font in the pro prologue. Yes. New font. I try to mix things up, but it's a little awkward. I'll have to figure it all out, but possibly by the new year, I'll have it all dialed in. And Keith E says, okay, I can hear you. Oh, great, great, great. Yeah, so okay, today is going to be a little bit different. Let me just see. Oh, there's more. Bonzo Kilborn is here. Says I'm already feeling good now with Retro Nerd Girl, even better, and you can too. Oh, thank you. And Botanical Brother is here. Says the Queen is in the house. Oh, that's so sweet. And Unicorn Rampant Studio says I have to go back and look at the beginning. I didn't start my live feed for some reason. I just saw the chat. Oh yeah, there isn't much. Everything is just truncated and really quick. And William says, "Dang, these could become a weekly TV show." Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to cover, which I do love. I do love that. And I'll just bring it back every once in a while, and we'll talk about feel good movies. And Botanica Brothers says, RNG, would you do a podcast that centers around African Americans, African actors in film? Um, maybe, yeah, I haven't thought about it, but yeah, I could do something. I was thinking about doing something about diversity in a lot of the movies that were in like the 70s and 80s, and just to kind of look at that in the 60s as well. There's quite a bit of effort to make for an effort to have diversity in a lot of films during that time. So I was thinking about doing that, or in pop culture in general. So I was thinking about that. I have to develop it to make it like actually kind of studious. I wanted to treat it with some respect, you know what I mean? And Daryl Jones says, I hear you just fine. Thank you. And Lindsay Kilburn says, all we're saying is give Pedro a chance. Hey, John Lennon fans, see what I did there? You're welcome. So are you a fan of it? Of the casting of Pedro as Reed Richards? I'm. I know he'll do a great job as an actor. He's great, but I I have a some big questions about what they're planning in general for the Fantastic Four. I don't think they have a handle on this at all. And they're just trying to do a lot of like stunt casting. They know that a lot of people like Pedro and that they want to see him. But I wonder if they have a script. Do they know what they're doing? And if I were Pedro, I wouldn't ruin my career by just taking on something like that. It has to be done right. So I hope he puts his foot down and says, "Listen, I want this to be done right." And he says, "Terrell, I thought, Darrell, I thought the comment about your rap sheet was rap sheet was pretty funny, but Siri doesn't want to use your real name for some reason." Oh yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Also, I'm interrupting a private conversation. I think I feel like. Um, And William Blake Hollis's best argument I heard is that the four are a family of explorers like Lost in Space, but more dramatic, less loopy. Oh, yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, from my knowledge, I don't have I have a general knowledge from like years and years and years of knowing about them, but I don't have a like not on the level of Unicorn Rampant Studio who knows the stories um from the comics and all that stuff. So uh I mean, but yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I'm not sure because you could do it a different way. It doesn't have to be done that way. So I got stuck there for a minute imagining what that would be like if it were a little bit different. And let's see. So, the topics today were I was going to have Lance be here to help with this particular subject matter, but unfortunately, he has a crazy schedule. He's doing a lot more now. And so I said to Lance, why don't we pre record it? And he said, absolutely. So we pre-recorded something, and I will play that pre-recording of the topic that we talked about, and I'll be in the chat talking with you guys. But also, I will be I will stop at any point to interrupt and say my point of view. But I don't think I'll have to. I think it's pretty self-explanatory as we go along. And Tracy's here. How are you? How are you doing today? And good to see you. And Unicorn says, I'm going to be reserving my judgment until something happens. So far, everything they've done seems to be horrible. And all they do is another horrible Fantastic Four. Then they haven't done any worse. Well, yeah, I hear you. I hear you 100%. This is really like from what I can see right now with what they're doing, it doesn't look like they have a good handle on what needs to be done. It doesn't look like they have a good handle on the story, and that's the most important thing. So, just throwing that out there. And Unicorn says, oh my god, he's going to pretend like we're, we're there with you guys." Yes, oh my god, Unicorn, for sure he is. He did, and I believe he mentioned you, and so don't be alarmed. He's going to mention you in the chat, and he's going to mention the chat as well. So sorry. Oh man, yeah. So William, we're so predictable. Well, no, I think he likes talking to or like the idea that you guys are watching, and so is trying to involve you in the topic. So it's so it was funny to me. I thought it was funny, so I left it in. I had the option to edit that out, and I kept it in because it was very it was very endearing. I thought, but if it let me know if there's an issue, personally. But I don't think there should be because I tried to edit out all the controversial bits that were mentioned. But let me know if you guys are all ready for me to play the video. Like I said, I'll be interacting with you guys in the chat, and I can start our discussion. Let me know. And Unicorn says, I'm pumped. And Keith E says Hooper thinks that his Uncle Lance absolutely hysterical is absolutely hysterical. Yes, he is. He's so funny. He's so funny. And he's only ever like trying to be entertaining. And so I hope no one takes offense to anything he says. I actually think he's a great guy. That's why I keep having him back on the channel. And the things that he says about films is extremely valuable. He's got a vast knowledge of the film industry. And I think it'd be great if you guys get a chance to. You want to head over to the Outcast Creative. His channel is doing very well. It's growing, and I believe this is going to be one of the next biggest channels on YouTube to do with the film industry. It's definitely got a wonderful little channel there. And yes, Daryl is encouraging everyone to hit the like button. And for fun, I haven't done this in a long time. That always makes me chuckle. And I love myself some Wonder Woman. And all right, well, I'm gonna get going with this. And Unicorn says, we're lucky to have friends like Lance, and we're not without our own charms. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, that is so sweet. I like that one. Okay, so I'm gonna hit play on this, and I hope you guys enjoy what we had to talk about. All right, we've got Lance from the Outcast Creative joining us today.
Yeah! Sorry, that's my Kermit impression.
Do you have a really good Kermit impression for real?
I'm not right now because I'm a bit sort of sore throat, chesty. Forgive me if I cough during the stream. I'll endeavour to mute myself, but I'm on antibiotics and I'm getting over a nasty chest infection right now. But the best cure for that is to talk to Retro for a couple of hours, in my view.
Yes, thank you. That is so sweet. And just letting everybody know that we are extremely grateful and happy that Lance is able to hang out with us today in spite of being sick and everything. It's really much appreciated. We do appreciate that. So
I was going to say I'm grateful that once more you're able to put up with my company again for a couple of hours, and I appreciate the invitation, and it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, good. All right. Well, the format is going to be a little bit different today for Feel Good Movies. We're doing Feel Good trilogies, and Lance has picked some really good ones for us. And so the first one up is Star Wars. It's the big honcho in that.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, let's just clarify that this is A New Hope, or just Star Wars as it was known back in the day. Empire Strikes Back.
The first.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi.
Yes, the first set of trilogies, or we affectionately call the original series in the Star Wars fandom. I became part of the Star Wars fandom this year. So
Did you? How did that? Oh, because you became a fan, or you joined some sort of club, or what happened there?
oh, I've talked about Star Wars too much. Is that thing?
Okay, you don't like own a stormtrooper costume and go to conventions.
Not quite yet, but we're working up to something.
I think you should get a Max Rebo costume. I'm pretty sure we discussed that before. You might be too tall to fit in a Max Rebo costume.
My favorite character is Salacious Crumb. I love him so much.
Which one is Salacious Crumb? Is he in the cantina?
He's the one that's sitting by Jabba, and he goes,
Oh,
that
the little
thing.
yes, sorry, the little kind of beaky bird thing. I know the one you mean.
I love that guy. He's so adorable.
Yeah. Your laugh and his laugh is quite similar. I can see the.
Well, you see, that's why I like him.
There you go.
So, well, I guess I can start off with a quick story about Star Wars.
Please do, as I
Okay.
continue to sort through my cinema tickets, some of which I may be showing you later.
So this is actually a really sentimental movie for me, the A New Hope, and I've been trying to figure out how I can tell the story about how my first time seeing it for a long time, but it's really complicated. When I was a little baby, I was actually living somewhere else. I was in another country. I was I wouldn't say quite kidnapped, but I was taken without my mom's permission, which is pretty much that. And I lived there for 5 years. And then I returned on my 7th birthday, or well, around my 7th birthday. And I was able to then spend time with my mom, like, and stay with her for good in New York City. And one of the things we did, like, almost immediately, is we went to go see movies together.
Right.
And that was the first movie we went to see together after we were reunited. And it was quite incredible. We got all the memorabilia and everything there. I have had some flip through books and things that I had from that experience, and for years and years always loved that movie and going through all of the pictures. That is my story about Star Wars. Seeing it for the first time in 1977. And just falling in love with the story. My mom loved the story. It was a family affair, and we had become official fans at that point.
Official fans.
Official. It was official right away. Yeah.
Official fan.
Yeah.
I also went to see it. This is a giveaway of course, of mine and Retro's age. I also went to see it in 77. Now, it wasn't the first movie I saw on the big screen, because my recollection is that we went to see a re-release of Bambi, probably in 76. But actually, I remembered since then that was also, I've been saying this on streams for years, but I just, my memory is a bit weird, but I do remember now that actually the first film that I saw at the cinema was Oliver, the musical with
how cute.
with Oliver Reed, and I was terrified of Bill Sykes. Then we went to see Bambi. Then I went to see Candleshoe. But these were all fairly sort of old school movies. And up to that point, my kind of experience of anything with special effects was your favorites, of course, the Saturday morning Flash Gordon and Conker's Mars and Buck Rogers' trip to the,
absolutely
hair tanning salon and so on. So So Star Wars was like, I don't know, it just sort of came out of nowhere, and suddenly there were trailers on telly everywhere, and everyone was talking about it. And then there were the Star Wars bubblegum cards, and there were the Star Wars figures, and it came out, I think in the UK, I think it was towards Christmas of '77.
Okay.
And a kid who I believe was called Peter Eskrit, he and his dad organized a trip for his birthday to go and see, and about 12 kids from the class. And by the way, Peter was the naughtiest kid in our class, which is why I remember him. One that always got detention, always got trouble. But yeah, we went along, about 12 of us, to the Kingston Granada cinema.
Okay.
Kingston upon Thames. It's like a kind of, back then, it's gone now, it's a nightclub now, but it was about, I guess, about a 400 seater. And I remember when we got to the cinema, and it must have been the 2:00 afternoon showing or whatever, the queue was already all the way down the side of the cinema and going around the back of it, because it had an alley that went all the way around the back of the cinema in a U shape. And I think we all kind of panicked. We were like, we're not going to get in, there's no way we're going to. I'd never seen or even heard of queues this big for anything.
Yeah.
And I was very young at the time. I was like 5 or 6 or something. And anyway, we did get in. We even managed all to sit together because it was a very big screen, but it was absolutely packed out. And I mean, I pity youngsters today, because they'll never know the experience of seeing a movie on the big screen with that kind of technology that just blew everything else away up to that point.
Yes.
For the first time, because they've been so spoilt with. There are movies that have recaptured some of that brilliance. I think Independence Day was one of them, and I think Avatar, whether you love it or hate it, and I personally love it, was another one for me. And Lord of the Rings, and we're going to talk about that as well. But this is they're since then. This is the one that did it at the time.
How can I say this? I have not. I still haven't seen though the way that the public took on Star Wars was shocking. Especially, I had never seen people love something that was science fiction before. Because it's like, it's make believe and it's silly, and so a lot of people made fun of it. And even in my classroom, there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh, that's fun. That's silly." But then when they were giving out toys, I want to get the toy. It was, I was like, I thought you hated Star Wars. It was too nerdy for you. But no, when it came to the toys, everybody went goo goo gaga, because it didn't matter. People would lie and pretend that they didn't like it, but they loved it. And everybody of all ages were on that line to see Star Wars. And Empire Strikes Back, the same thing. Jedi, Return of the Jedi. It was insane. I had never seen anything like that. And by the time when I saw A New Hope, it was already pretty late. It was, I think it was released.
I think you got it in the summer. You guys got it in the summer of
it was released. Yeah, it was released earlier, but for when I got to see it after I had finally got home, it was later on in the it was like almost like winter-ish, and there were still long lines for this thing. I mean, it was one of those things that it was just ridiculous how many people, all they talked about, all you saw on the news, all the reports was all about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then it was the one thing where when it came on screen, like, oh, there was a report about Star Wars, everybody in the household was like, stop everything. They're talking about Star Wars. It was something that was really had captivated everyone. And of course, there were very few people who were like, "Oh yeah, it's terrible." But other people, most people were loving it, and you couldn't deny all of the times people were seeing the movie. People were seeing it over and over and over again, if they could. And it was a phenomenon that just blew the socks off of science fiction. It blew the socks off of cinema. Like the special effects had never been done like this before.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And by the way, that wasn't my first movie that I ever saw. There's still a long list that precedes this, but it was one of the first movie that made such an impact on my life, because I don't think I'll ever forget the experiences tied to Star Wars. And the bond too that it had for me and my mom at that time. It was like something that we had kind of discovered together, that this kind of love for movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was, we were all collecting the figures. There were bubblegum cards that came out.
Right.
And you were doing, and the bubblegum was like practically tasteless and really horrendous. But we were all kind of like, I'm going to whack up some stills for you here, by the way.
Oh,
just so
cool.
Visually make this more interesting. Oh, hang on a minute. Where can I? There we go. That's the one we want. There we go. Okay. Can you see that one?
Oh, yes. Oh.
Interestingly enough, Leslie Schofield, who's on the right there, he appeared in a number of big movies in the 70s, including The Wild Geese, and then later on, I'm right in thinking he turned up on our soap EastEnders, which everybody's heard of, playing Martine McCutcheon's dad many years later. And it's like, oh, it's that bloke from Star Wars who had a couple of lines,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something, I don't know. There's something, this film probably on paper shouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
And it was great that Lucas had a good team around him that were all pulling in the right direction. But there's something about this film that's actually quite effortless in a way. And I don't say that in a way to demean the efforts of the production. I mean that the film flows. It's just effortless to watch it, in my experience, and it's got a beauty and a narrative that's rarely been matched. It had the right cast. It was groundbreaking visually. It had the right score. John Williams's theme is iconic. Before this movie, no one had heard of him.
Yeah.
It's also the second biggest grossing movie in cinema history. Do you know what number one is?
Don't say it.
You know what? I think I should make that a movie quiz question, but it's Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind.
What?
Yeah, in North America. In North America, anyway. Gone with the Wind, probably not number one in Korea, but
Interesting.
So yeah, the late great Carrie Fisher. That I remember the Leia figure came with this little tiny pistol.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that pistol always got lost because it was so tiny.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but it was, oh man, it brings back a lot of memories. Now the other thing was that I got to see it about 7 times in 4 weeks because everybody who had a birthday in our school went to see it for their birthday. And fortunately, I was pals with most people, so I was always on the invite list. And I came down with a really high temperature and a terrible cold, and there was one time where I wasn't allowed to go. It was so annoying, and the kid's mum even came to the house to pick me up to see if I was well enough to go.
Oh, that's
I remember saying to my mum, I feel fine. I need to see this movie for the 5th time. It's really important to me. No, you've seen it already. You need to stay in and get better. And I was in such a huff. but and then I went again the following week with someone else. I mean, it's just
That's so cool.
Yeah. So a lot of good memories with Star Wars. A lot of big debate over kind of, do the special editions improve the movie? I think there are bits that improve it. Like I think the attack on the Death Star looks better.
Well, yeah, I think the technical stuff where they needed to tweak a few of the special effects, that didn't quite work. That's true.
Or just make the shots a bit, a bit smoother. That kind of stuff. I didn't mind the extra creatures in the cantina. That was fine. But I'm not sure we needed the CGI Jabba scene, although it kind of, I guess it sets up a good link for the rest of the movie, the trilogy.
I think it was fine without it.
It's fine without it. I think it's more important for the trilogy, but it's, as a standalone film, it definitely doesn't need it.
It's very distracting. It actually takes away from the initial movie, and we totally understood what was happening. When Jabba shows up, we know there's a bounty. We know all that stuff. We got it. This was, to me, it was redundant in many ways, because we certainly did figure it out. It wasn't something that was needed to happen. Another thing was the Han shooting first thing, and
that made me so angry. I saw the opening night of the special edition, and I'm searching for the cinema ticket now, and if I find it, I'll stick my camera on. But me and my casting director, actually, Sharon Sorrentino, we hitched down to London to go and see it. I didn't actually remember this story, but she told it at a party of mine, and I was like, oh yeah, right, okay. And we hitched down, which was, you just don't hitch in England. That's not a good thing, but we did, and we went to see it, and it was absolutely packed. Absolutely packed.
Wow.
This was in the Odeon, Leicester Square, where they have all the premieres. You're talking as an audience of about 800 people. And that was the only point in the movie where this collective groan went up. Everything else, they were.
Yeah, because that was one of my favorite parts of the original. Was like, Han Solo, don't mess with him, he'll shoot first. And it's like, now it's like, oh, he's doing like a necky thing.
It's also like the timing of it, the whole, I bet you have, boom, and it just was spot on. And then they just did this weird thing with the angle, and it looked like he shot first and missed. And if he was going to shoot first at that range, he would not have missed. How's he going to miss it?
Well, if you look at the footage very clearly, they do this thing with Han Solo's neck, where he's like, and I'm like, so does he have the force to know that the blaster is going to get him right in the face, that he can move out of the way like that? That's very, very strange. So I don't know. It was a weird little thing that really took away from his edge as a hero. And I think this effort to make our heroes perfectly good is just too much. I think it may have also been something that was gnawing away at Lucas, morally. Maybe he just felt like, I can't support somebody who shoots first. and that's something, that to consider. I do take that stuff into consideration when I look at, at that, and when I start to feel those feelings of like, oh, this is really taking one. That is such a beautiful shot, so creative, so
it's great set as well.
Yeah, it's just incredible. The work that was put into all of that. It is treading on brand new territory every step of the way. And with the wrong editing, with the wrong sound, with the wrong music, this would really fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, agree. And I think also got to give credit to the performances as well, because everybody hams it up to the equal level. They're all pitching it just perfect.
Also, don't you think that this was really, really tight? Like the way it was edited was so tight that even when people are talking, it's already moving on to something else.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
mean,
not lingering, because I find this happening for a lot of like I'm noticing in many productions that when an actor looks like they can't act, it's mostly because the camera is on them for like 2 or 3 seconds too long. And there's like a pause or something, and we're waiting like, okay, and so you're concentrated on the actor instead of feeling the momentum of what they're saying and how it's contextualized in the story. So one thing about this movie, they nailed it, was that every time there was some movement going on at all times. And even if it was like a moment where an actor can do some gesturing, it was purposefully, you can see that it is a gesture for the moment. It's not a lingering thing that really makes actors not look like they can act, even though they and even though they can. And the Ahsoka show is a very great example of that. We know that Rosario Dawson can act.
Yeah,
And
she's a fabulous actress,
yeah,
which makes it all the more annoying that the show just didn't really serve her well. I don't know if you saw somebody posted a meme up, and it's of a girl kind of doing her kind of katana thing. She's got like
okay.
a kind of a lightsaber thing, one of those poles. She's got like one of those poles, and she's spinning it everywhere. The speed and the skill at which she's handling that weapon, somebody memed it and said, "This is what Ahsoka should have been like." And I thought, yeah, you're probably not wrong there. Probably not wrong.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. And look, it's been done before. You can speed up your actors as they're moving. You can do all of that in post. But it again, what was done here in this movie was just excellently executed, not just by great actors. We all know that they're fantastic. They really made that dialogue work. And we all know that some of the things that they were saying were technically like, what? It was really strange stuff to be hearing in 1977. But it was done with impact, and then it was edited skillfully, so that way you can feel the emergency in the moment. You can, it didn't sabotage the performances at all.
No,
So
indeed.
it worked so well. There's so much that's going right with this film that you can definitely say like, hey, any number of things not working, this whole thing would fall apart.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, obviously we're talking about it as a trilogy here, so let's give the other films a couple of mention now. I'm going to say something controversial here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's all right. Not Lance. Not one of those controversial ones. Not when you have to go like Salacious Crumb at me, full crumb. No.
Sorry.
Oh man, gonna get the giggles now. No, I at the time it came out, bearing in mind I was a kid.
Yes.
I'm sure if you were sort of 14 or 15 and you kind of had a bit more of a mature insight into films, Empire Strikes Back was the best thing since sliced bread. I had a lot of problems with it as a kid, and there's one problem I still have with it.
Ooh.
But well, the most epic scene in it is the attack on the snow base, you know, with the
Oh
walkers.
yes. Ooh.
I feel that should have been the final sequence of the movie with a lightsaber fight taking place between Luke and Darth in the snow. I think the story works perfectly fine. As a kid, that's what I felt.
Oh sure.
Because that scene was so spectacular. I was never that blown away by the lightsaber fights. They were fine, but it was, I always like the pew pew and, you know, all of that. I mean, as an adult and as a filmmaker and as a scriptwriter, I think Empire Strikes Back is genius. Before, oh my God, look at all those comments in the chat. Yes. Right, stop having a moan at me. But as a kid, also, I was not expecting to see a Star Wars film that ended on a negative cliffhanger, and that was the first time I'd ever seen a film that hit me with that emotional experience. And then it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you know, Return of the Jedi will be out next Christmas. I think we had to wait quite a while for Jedi.
Oh yes.
Wasn't Empire 1980?
80.
Was it 80? And
Yeah,
Jedi was, I think, summer of 83.
83, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good 3 years. I think by the time Jedi came out, you know, I'd almost kind of given up hope that it was actually going to get made.
What?
Well, just because it took so long, and I was like, how long have we got to wait for this movie? You know?
Oh, I see. Yeah, when you're a kid, everything seems like so much longer.
And you know, I'm sure that there were quite a few old Star Wars fans who didn't live to see that third film.
Oh boy,
in that time span. But they are, as a trilogy as a whole, they're great. And the funny thing is when, again, as a youngster, when people used to say, which is your favorite movie? Now, my answer to that now is the first film. But when people used to ask me that as a youngster, I used to say Return of the Jedi, which everybody thinks is the weakest movie.
Yeah.
And all right, chat, stop having a go at me. See what you're doing there.
Nobody's doing that. I think we're all. I think when it comes to the originals, and there's a little bit more leeway as to, you know, what people think about it, because
it's not my view now, but the reason why was at the time, Jedi did two things that I hadn't seen in a movie before that I really wanted to see. One was a massive space battle with lots of ships.
Okay, yeah, it did deliver that.
And
it put the war in. They put the war in Star Wars.
That was incredible. And I also thought the whole sequence around the Sarlacc pit was just an incredible piece of action
that was
choreography.
Cool.
So it had these two really great sequences. Plus, you know, you had the bike speeders and
that bike speeders. That was what got me. I was like, what? We're like speeding for like a half hour. It's like what? I mean, but it was still a very incredible moment in the story, and I think what also blew me away about that was the behind the scenes of how they pulled that off. I was like, what? They use puppets? I was like freaking out. But I want to talk a little bit more about Empire Strikes Back. And
yes, please do. I mean, there's that kiss, of course, you know.
That was not, well, I guess that was a big deal, I guess. Because there were two kisses.
I love you, and he said, I know. That was unscripted, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there were two kisses, right? The first one was Princess Leia kissing Luke Skywalker very passionately, which is so gross when you think about
Especially when in the third movie she says, I've always known.
Yeah. Oh, I know. This makes it worse.
If you've always known, then why did you give your brother a big smooch just to upset your potential boyfriend? That's a bit messed up.
Well, I mean, that was what she was doing in the first place, but Empire Strikes Back was so good in my opinion. When I saw it for the first time, I was 10, and I think my mom and I, after we finished watching that movie, we just looked at each other and were like, "What is gonna happen?" We were so surprised at so much of it, and the thing that really got me was the emotional magic of like Darth Vader trying to tempt his son into to the dark side or to his side, whatever that might have been.
Yeah.
And revealing, "I am your father." And that was like, what? And that was the big, like, messed up psychological thing that was like, oh, I can't believe it. Like, you can't believe that this terrible monstrosity is Luke's father. And it just was the shock of all shocks for the entire series. And also, on a technical standpoint, how they were able to pull off Cloud City, my goodness, that was so beautiful at the time. And like, it's basically Flash Gordon, the Cloud City that's in that. It's exactly the same, but it's modernized, and it looks like how it could have looked if there was a Cloud City. And it was sort of like everybody's fantasies put on celluloid, and it was just like, there it is, there's my dream right there. and then Calrissian comes out, and he's like, well, what have we here? What have we here? It was just like everything you ever wanted, but you didn't know that you did want it. And there I think the pacing though for Empire was a little bit, off a little bit, but it needed those moments. But if probably my only critique was that the pacing could have been ramped up just a smidge. But the all the stuff that happened on Dagobah, this movie was very psychological. It was very psychological. It was dealt with good and evil, but also the trials that Luke had to experience in order to get to his next level of like finally getting to become a Jedi. And it was just wonderful. I love watching just that one. So it was my very favorite for a long time. But I have to say that now, if you ask me, it's back to the original 1977 because of the purity and innocence of that movie. We didn't know what we were in for when we watched that movie. We didn't know how much more story there was to be like squeezed out of it. And there have been some people who have said that there only should have been one.
Well, I can understand that point of view. I mean, certainly for me, my answer is the same. And I'm giving these kind of weird reflections as a child. My opinion of Jedi being my favorite movie didn't last forever, because then I remembered that there were Ewoks in it. But I didn't like when they did the special editions, even though there were some great improvements. One of the things I didn't like is them unbelievably cutting out Yub Nub from the ending of Jedi. Yub Nub, da da yub yub, and all that. I wanted that song in.
They cut out that song?
Yeah, that song's gone. It's in the special edition. You don't have Yub Nub. You've just got John Williams' score. And this kind of na 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 na. It's funny actually, because I met Dennis Lawson recently. I've got a great picture of him and me together, and we talking about Star Wars, and you know, and I was talking about the first time I went to see it with him and everything, and I said, I heard, is it true? I heard that you turned down being in the new trilogy, and which I think at the time I met him, I think the first film had just come out, and he said, yeah, no, that's right. They did ask me to come back, and I said no. And I said, do you mind me asking why? And he said, the first 3 films were good. I think we should leave it there, and or words to that effect. And you know what? He wasn't far wrong. Yeah, really nice man. Asked me to send him a copy of my book. Don't know if he's read it because I haven't heard from him since, but I did send him a copy. Yeah, but he was very lovely. He could have been, you know, he could have been offish and standoffish. And I met him at the Harry Potter play. He had a nephew or a son that was in it or something. Yeah, but it was nice to meet him playing Wedge. So I think I remember also something else about Return of the Jedi was when I went to see it with a buddy from school. I can't remember who it was. I know that we stayed in and watched it twice because back then they didn't really care if you just stayed in and watched the movie again.
You could stay. You could stay in a movie for quite a few showings.
Yeah. Oh, this guy. I wasn't informed. I'll have to check. Yeah, but I've got a Lego Death Star right next to me. But I remember when I came back from seeing the first movie, this would always be a sign of a good movie. I'd always want to recreate scenes at home and then play them out.
Yeah.
And I built the trench out of Lego. And back then, of course, there was no, I don't think even Lego Space had come out at that point. I think that might have come out in like 78. So I was kind of building X-Wings out of just basic blocks, and TIE fighters were like, you know, two white things with a block in the middle and could stand up on the table.
That's what I needed. I should have asked for Legos for Christmas.
Oh, there you go. You were still time to put them on your wish list, I think. Star Wars trilogy, got to give it 10 out of 10 for me. And while we're on the subject of it, I will briefly appear on camera, and because I think I found my ticket for. I found a ticket for a re-release of Star Wars. Here you go. So, Return of the Jedi. See, the S stands for Special Edition. That's the Warner West End. Then it became the Warner Village. Now it's a View cinema. I've got Star Wars here, but 93. I'm guessing that's Special Edition, but it might have been. This is the Prince Charles, so that they show a lot of old movies. So I don't know. I've got a triple bill ticket here, and I'm not entirely sure what that's for, but it might be this Plaza Cinema, sadly gone now. This is 1990, so I want to say this is Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, which I think we're going to come on to next.
Okay.
Couple of other interesting ones that I found while I was searching for these. Look, opening night of Prince of Thieves.
Okay.
Friday. And then also the time that I took everybody to see Heat for my birthday. This is a whole bunch of tickets right here.
Wow.
So there's a strip of them. See? So there's a whole load. Some of my friends would have asked to keep their tickets, but I think I took about 14 people to see Heat. And then I also I totally forgot that one year I went to see Backdraft for my birthday. You remember Backdraft?
Oh yeah.
And man, I must have taken a whole bunch of people to see that for my birthday, because I found a really massive, this is my favorite cinema, the Empire. I found a really massive strip of Backdraft tickets. So for Empire Screen 1, which was absolutely amazing. Now, Retro, you're going to like these. I found these in the same box.
Oh, how cute.
Stickers for Aladdin. And then while we're talking about Star Wars in the same box, I don't know where this came from. I also found this. sort of a
Holographic?
yeah, like a holographic thing of Cloud City. I think it was.
Oh, Cloud City. Okay.
It was one of a
Yeah.
set. I think it's the only one I've got. I currently look like Noddy, so I'm going off camera again.
Okay.
It's just to explain to people, it's freezing cold here. I've got about 4 layers on, and I look ridiculous. So
And he's getting over a cold. So
I am getting over a cold, so I'm coughing on camera a lot. So I'm sure you can all survive without my physical appearance on your
we've
screens.
got Kermit the Napoleon.
I think it's a big improvement. I think it's a good looking version of me right there. And I tell you what, a Muppet Napoleon movie is something I would really love to see.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I think it would be really
and
fun.
Miss Piggy as Josephine.
I actually have a picture of Miss Piggy as Josephine.
Oh, that's cool.
If you look at the Nielsen rating episode, which we did last night, I have we talk about Napoleon, we review it, and I show that picture there so people can catch it there. So this was Star Wars. We've only been putting up pictures of the first film, but
well, I think that's the thing is that the thing that I do love about the originals series is that it and sort of the same characters can be found, Chewie, Leia.
Yeah.
These guys are all through it. So we understand the language here. This stands for all three. We got it. I think there's some new characters, but there are no new characters to the core group of them. And until Lando is sort of an outsider. He doesn't really become part of the group, but is an outsider ally, if you will. And Ben is sort of an outsider too, in a strange way. But Ben, it's just so wonderful, like to be able to talk about these movies and. Look at that. That looks great.
I was about to say this was always one of my favorite shots in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's got about 4 composition elements. The 2 gun towers are models. Got 2 actors as stormtroopers composited into the foreground. Then you've got the separate shot of the Falcon and a separate painting. That's a matte painting for the background.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 elements at least there. Which is fantastic. Yeah, they did a lot of amazing.
Look at the sideburns.
Wonder what this guy's doing now.
Don't you just love the? Don't you just love
TK421? Why aren't you at your post? I can remember all the lines.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and
just love the 70s. That they had the best sideburns. And
all of the actors playing the officers, the Imperial officers, they were all from the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Okay.
So they all had this very sort of eloquent, well-spoken way of speaking, and I really liked that because that fitted with the kind of, to be part of the Empire officer elite, you probably come from like the rich families. You probably come from the upper classes. That's how you get those postings. But then that kind of got a bit diluted when they were doing the new movies, and I just didn't think it worked as well. But anyway, great stuff. Love looking at all the props on the little things on the background, that have been attached to walls and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff that helps to make the world real, and not only just for the actors, but for us. We want to know we can walk into the room and twist a few knobs and some flashy flashlights.
I never noticed he had like a little breakfast bowl there in that shot. See that, like next to Han Solo's hand there. Looks like a bowl with some granules in.
Having some breakfast, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot to see and a lot of really awesome things going on there.
I
Uh,
always liked this thing, this little
oh
game. That was a nice little touch as well, you know.
yeah.
That was fantastic, fantastic stuff. Richard LaParmentio. I wonder what he's doing now. Anyway, okay, should we? That's
Let's
Star Wars.
move
Should
on. Yeah.
we move on? Because I know you haven't slept for like 92 hours or something.
So so next you wanted to do Lord of the Rings, right?
I think we should do Back to the
Back to
Future.
the Future? Okay,
Let's do,
well,
let's
let's
do
do
Back
Back
to the
to the
Future.
Future.
Yeah. So now, Back to the Future. First film came out in 85, I think. Second film, I know, came out when I was at art college, because I clearly remember, now that I've written my book, when I was at art college, which is based on my diary. There's an entry in the diary about me and this lady from my art college. I think, and a couple of others. We went to see it. Again, Empire Screen 1, lovely cinema. And then, of course, that cliffhanger of Back to the Future 2 is amazing. So good, man.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, and the third film I saw the trilogy all in one go, and the third film, it was a special premiere of the third movie. That was also at the Empire Screen 1. And I've seen the entire trilogy at that same cinema 4 times. Been to see it all in one go 4 times. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things about the movie that make it special. I have to say, of the 3 films, my favorite is the second one. I love all the kind of little technology, all the technology gimmicks, the shoes that do themselves up, the coat that your coat is now dry. And I like the way they tie it into the first film. It's got one of the best cliffhangers of all time. Really, really good cliffhanger. That line when Michael J. Fox goes, "There's only one man who can help me." Oh my god! And then it cuts to Doc Brown. The whole cinema went like that. I remember that was, you know, because they were just like, "Yes, he's the guy that can help you." And when he, you know, when he comes back, but I'm back. I'm back from the future. The audience in the cinema were laughing, but they were also kind of on tenterhooks. And then when the logo came up, you know, and like to be continued in that Back to the Future font, this huge groan went up. Oh, we got to wait to see this.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the third one came out pretty soon because they
filmed back to back.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about the behind the scenes stuff, which I won't go over now, but there's an interview on my channel with David McGiffert, who was the first AD on all 3 movies. And the 2 things that I'll mention are, one is that no one could ever keep track of Christopher Lloyd, and they actually had to assign minders to him to
I was actually on that. I think I was in that interview.
Oh yes, you were. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you can see me and Retro talking to David McGiffert. And then the second thing he mentioned, of course, was I don't think I'm sure I knew about this before the interview, but I certainly didn't know about it for a while. Was that when they started filming, it was just going to be one movie, and then they realised it was actually 2 movies, and they had to stop filming and renegotiate the whole thing. I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
Everybody says the third film is the weakest. I think the third film is only the weakest because the second film is just so good. And it might be that they kind of did them in the wrong order in terms of time periods. If you'd ended up with, if they'd gone back to the West in the middle, and then just purely from a visual point of view, and then the futuristic one had been the last one.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked story wise, but just from like the visuals and the great stuff that you got to see, I think
Well,
they would have been in the right order of power, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Great,
I think
just incredible.
I think for nostalgia purposes, the first one really hit me in a special way. Um, and so I think I love that one more, but it technically I should like the second one more because of the science fictiony future stuff that were it was absolutely incredible.
I mean, it's not just that stuff. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love the first one
Mhm.
just as much. I'm just trying to get some stills up for
But
it here.
there was a nice twist in the second one that I absolutely adore, which was going back to the present and then discovering things were totally different.
Yeah, that was
And that was like,
yeah,
sure. That was
yeah,
very clever, and it was like, okay, these guys aren't just using time travel for a background in their story. They're actually thinking about how to use it creatively.
yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of the second movie. But I think yeah, for me nostalgically, I just like the first one of them going back in time and the whole like uh, enchantment under the sea ball or whatever.
Yeah,
That was just it just hits like a special nerve to me.
I
Uh,
mean, you know, it's a stage play musical now, right?
oh
Um,
yeah, really?
which actually premiered in the
Oh, I think I
UK.
saw that.
It was
Yeah.
tested. It was tested in the UK before America, and they were testing it in Manchester, and it just opened the week before lockdown. So,
Okay.
like, a small number of people got to see it, but the reports were from people that it was really good. I've seen it. It was really good, but
Mhm.
I had one massive gripe with it, and that was they cut this scene. Instead of the skateboard chase, and if you can make a car fly in a theater, you can definitely do a skateboard chase. Instead of the skateboard chase, they just had this chase throughout the school halls, and
Mhm.
instead of Biff ending up with manure on his head, he ends up with spaghetti on his head, and I just thought, oh, come on.
But
So
it may I mean, it may be also to a production issue, may not. I mean, it
sure.
would be easier to control fake spaghetti versus
They had a
something.
lot of problems with this actor on the ship.
Yeah. Well, on this for the second one,
Yeah,
he wanted more money, and they wouldn't give him the his the what he asked for, and so they
right.
hired another person to play his part, but they also put prosthetics on that person to look just like him and act
Yeah,
just like him, and so he took them to court and won the case actually that they cannot use his likeness without his permission.
that's right. I think we maybe touched on that on the stream, but I think you told me that story.
Yeah.
I think that's
Um,
quite right, and that could be cited as a case with the whole AI stuff. That's
very similar, and yeah, you don't want to put in a performance that you crafted and then find somebody else has watched your performance and just copied it, pretending that it's you.
yeah.
It's a little bit deceiving. A lot of people didn't even know that he wasn't in the
I have
movie.
to admit, when I saw it, I actually thought it was him in makeup.
Me too. Eh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
me too.
uh,
And but here's a different situation where for the Planet of the Apes, Roddy McDowell couldn't do the second edition of that, which was Beneath the Planet of the Apes,
right.
and another actor came in and did that performance. But he wasn't, it was something they had agreed on because he came back and did many more performances with them.
Sure.
So if it's okay, if it's something they agree upon, fine. But I feel like,
Mm.
yeah, definitely, I think he was in the right for that. And look, you're trying to make a movie, and you're like, you've got everything going except for one character. One guy's asking for a lot of money, you can't pay him.
Mm.
Um, I'm sure it seemed like a good idea at the time. It's just maybe a smidge, wasn't exactly the right thing to do.
I have a feeling that we're not that far from hoverboards becoming a reality.
I hope so.
Yeah, we're pretty close, I think, to that. I mean, certainly there's people on YouTube with their own jetpacks, and then you got those guys that use the water thing and they can go across the water. But oh, that's
Playing
Michael
a
J.
girl.
Fox. I was looking at that and going, which actress is that? Oh, it's my mum. Mum, is
Did a
that
great
you?
job.
Yeah, Leah Thompson is so good in this.
Yeah, she
I mean,
just
she gets to do a lot more in the second movie, which is nice.
yeah. Um,
And I like Tom Wilson. He's so good as Biff.
yeah.
Have you seen the Michael J. Fox documentary? And he's
Mhm.
done this incredible documentary about his life now. Man, I'd so love to meet him. I read his autobiography he wrote just after he got ill, and it covered all three movies and, of course, lots of other stuff.
Mhm.
And it's a really, really good read. This scene
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. That was really well done, however.
I mean, also the special effects in it,
Yeah,
it's
just great.
so clever.
And there was a sense of comedy in it all too. So
Yeah.
that really worked. That really worked.
What was up with this
Um,
double Japanese banzai tie? Because these are like they're kind of like the Japanese flag.
he worked for a company that he ended up getting fired from.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. He had a Japanese boss. I remember
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the great thing about these movies is that they're timeless.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes them so strong, because you can put them on anytime. Great for kids of any age, maybe not under 5, but kind of 5 and above sort of thing.
Mhm.
I still think they're really good.
Yeah.
I think that they've aged really well. Very few of the effects look dated. Performances, I can't think of a weak performance in the trilogy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, everybody is just giving it 110%. And it was great.
Elizabeth Shue. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Because
she was in the first one, but she didn't continue on after that.
no. She was in
Oh,
the she
oh,
replaced the woman from the first
oh yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Okay, so
and
when?
and there's a really beautiful story about that, which is they asked that actress back, and she was very good. And her mother was dying of cancer at the time
Oh
that they
no.
were going to do the shoot, and she just, she couldn't do it, so they got Elizabeth Shue. But I think also I read it somewhere, and it might be wrong, but I think either Spielberg or Zemeckis or somebody stepped in, and they got her mother like top quality care and
Oh,
made
that's
made her as
really amazing.
comfortable as possible. Yeah, Jaws 19 is a poster in the background,
Love that.
directed by Max Spielberg, like it's a relative. It's like
Yeah,
really cool. This underwater space city. I've never seen that poster on its own, actually. So that's pretty. All of that stuff, I love that. I love that when the Jaws thing
yeah.
comes out and takes a snap at him. That whole set as well. Don't know if there's a really good still of it here, but the set of Hill
Yeah,
Valley
great.
kind of all done up it just looks fantastic.
Yeah,
Um, but James Tolkien plays the teacher. I like all the links. I like all the different links between the films as well, with even just like the little things.
mhm,
Like this teacher's got his own kind of little narrative where he pops up again and again. I love the way that the relatives of Biff in the Wild West emulate and do all the same things that he does in the other films in terms of his language, his body language, all of
oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they replicate. You think they're about to replicate the skateboard chase again, and he runs out into the town, and then there's nothing to grab, It's really good. Great trilogy.
Yeah, I think each film. I don't remember the last one that much, but I don't remember it. I remember it being a good movie.
Yeah, I think that because the first two are just so good,
Hmm.
it suffers a little bit from it's Return of the Jedi syndrome in a way,
Yeah.
because the first two are so good. The third one, it feels it feels like most of the budget went on the second one, and as they shot back to back, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
But it does
Another.
have great sequences. It's got good
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah. There, that train chase sequence, or it is like getting the train to go at 688
Oh,
miles per
wow!
hour.
Great
That was
shot.
just, yeah, it was great. But the issue for me with the third movie was it was like a happy ending, but it was maybe too saccharine for me, or too, there was something about it that I was like, okay, well, that just wraps up that. And
Right.
but then it does have like a little cliffhanger, doesn't it? No, 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 no.
Yeah, I think
No, 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 no.
yeah,
I'm thinking about the second one had a
no,
cliff.
there is a thing. Basically, what happens is he arrives on he arrives on that kind of Jules Vernish kind of super train with
Look
Mary,
at his face.
with Mary Steenburgen as his
Hmm.
wife, because at
And
that point,
his kids too.
yeah, and his kids Jules and Vern, which is really cute. And then I think, yeah, the movie ends with that train taking off, and he says, "Where are you going? Back to the future?" No, already been there. And I think the indication is that he's kind of going to outer space, or a different dimension or something. Did you ever do the Back to the Future ride in Universal Florida?
Um, no, I've never been there. I did do a Universal ride
Well, when
in
we do the
California.
when we do the Lorena 50th birthday party social meetup, which of course for Lorena will be in about 25 years, because she's only in her 20s. But yeah, when we do that, unfortunately, the Universal Back to the Future ride is no longer there. I think the only place you can still go on it, I think, is in Japan. So what we need to do is just convince Lorena to celebrate her birthday in Disneyland Japan, and then we can all go and ride on it. But that ride had just opened when I first went to that park, and it literally had opened that week. And the taxi driver told me and the guy about it, and we were like, right. I said to him, let's go straight to that ride and get it out of the way. And we did. It was kind of quite far into the park, so we ran through the park, and we went on it twice straight away. God, it was good. You can see it on YouTube. There's a whole kind of video ride along of it, but it's very clever as well. Just the music to Back to the Future gives me chills as well.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's yeah, I feel like I want to go and watch it now. It's really good. One of the gang, by the way, of Biffs, which a lot of people miss in the first film, is the actor. I think it's Billy Zane is one of them.
Yeah, okay.
Billy Zane is one of them, and I think Casey Samosco from Young Guns, I think, is another one, if I remember right. One of them's definitely Billy Zane from Titanic. Yeah. So, yeah. What else have you got? Anything else to say about Back to the Future?
Not much, because it's one of those it was one of those instant classic, almost like when you saw it and you're like, yeah, this is definitely an amazing movie. Um, Michael J. Fox couldn't have been more of a star at that point, because he had his TV show. I believe he did Teen Wolf
Yeah, but actually, he shot Teen Wolf before Back to the Future.
And then it came out after.
That's right. That's right.
And he was just he was a rising star, and so at the time, you know, every movie he was in, it was at least did decent at the box office, and maybe not everything, but it was he was again a rising star, and this was just a nice showcase for him to showcase how, I don't know, he was, how charming he was. He was funny and a lot of personality. There were a few like things that he did that was adorable, and there was something that you could hold on to throughout the entire um, trilogy. And then you had Doc, you know, Christopher
I
Lloyd just
mean,
being
Christopher
so,
Lloyd, man, God, what I wouldn't give
yeah,
to interview him, you know. And he's always looked the same age. He's like one of those actors that's always looked the same. He's always had his jet white hair for as long as I can remember, apart from when he was in, wasn't he in Taxi, the TV
yep,
show Taxi? Yeah, I remember him
Taxi,
in that with
yeah.
curly brown hair.
And yeah,
Um,
he really does. He's just really good in what everything he's in. You know, it was just great, and the two of them together, we see remnants or familiarities in that one cartoon show that's really popular right now, Rick and Morty.
oh, is that still
Of
popular?
it's I think well, and I'm not sure if it's out. I think I'm not sure if they're still writing for it, but it's pretty popular. Everybody, a lot of people know what it is. Um, it is iconic is the word I would use. All the performances, everybody again is doing their like career best. You know, they're like even Crispin Glover. You know, he was only in the one film, but it was
Yeah.
what an amazing performance on that one film.
He's in a really great overlooked 80s movie with Christopher Walken and Sean Penn and Chris Penn called At Close Range. Oh, there's ZZ Top.
Yes,
That was a great when
love
they
those guys.
spun their guitars around. That was just like a
Ah,
really fun
yeah,
thing.
yeah. That
Um,
I love those guys.
I think I have that suit that Christopher Lloyd is wearing. It's quite funny, isn't it, that he sort of dressed himself up to look like Clint Eastwood?
Yeah,
Because that's what he says. He says, "What's your name?" And he's like, Eastwood, Clint Eastwood. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny in all the right ways. Great stuff. Yeah, well, I don't think anybody watching your stream won't have seen it. But if you haven't, well, you know, you should.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
was gonna try and show you guys the Back to the Future 3 set on the map, but it has actually, unfortunately, been taken down. It was purpose built in Red Hills, and there's a place called the Shinosh Ravine, which is where the train sequence was shot. But the actual place where they built the Hill Valley set,
Mhm.
yeah, it's gone. It's marked. It's marked on Google. You can find it, but there's nothing there. It's all been restored to. I would have thought they would have shot in one of the kind of established Western sets, but maybe they were all in use at the time.
So they just redesigned that same area again with that
No,
watchtower,
no, no,
the
no,
watch
no,
or
no. They went out to no. Back to the Future 3 was all shot on location out in Sonora, which is kind of east of Stockton.
Okay.
So yeah, out that way, and near Sonora, Jamestown. It's kind of going into a national park called the Stanislaus National Forest, which is just north west of Yosemite. I say this with the authority like I'm an American that knows what I'm talking about, but I've never been. I've never been there. I did always like Doc Brown's line, which I think he's got in all three movies. Here, Marty, I conjured up this little thing to show you. Please excuse the crudity of this model.
Yeah.
And it's always like it always looks really good and it's really detailed and
Yeah.
it could be a lot more basic, but it's not. You know, he's made
And
it.
they just parodied this in Loki, the Loki series. They had a moment like that where
Oh,
OB had done a model and said, "I only put one coat of paint on it,"
right.
which I thought was cute. It's like, Back to the Future, huh? Yeah, that is just yeah, Back to the Future. Great, great set of movies there, and it's definitely a feel good. You feel good after you're done watching those three together. If you so did choose to watch one or two, um, no one would, you know, knock down your door and say, "You better watch it. No police are going to come after you." You can watch them however you want, but all three together, definitely, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be
I
nice.
mean, if you haven't seen them, and I suspect that that's unlikely, but if you haven't, all three
For
together.
anyone who hasn't seen it, try to catch all three of those movies. The first one is delightful. It is delightful and absolutely a lot of fun. So,
So we're moving on to
the
Lord of the
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, and so the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Well, I mean, I think this is the trilogy of trilogies for me.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but for me, this probably just about beats the Star Wars trilogy because I've watched it more times
Hmm.
and I get a much bigger emotional response from it. Funny little story was I was dating a girl. I'm still really good friends with her.
Hmm.
And she was staying with me one Christmas. You know, I was cooking the Christmas dinner and all that. And you know how it is, you kind of got a food coma the day after Christmas. You don't want to do anything except watch TV and stay in. And I said, why don't we watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy? And she had always like pushed back on watching that because she wasn't into sci-fi. She wasn't into anything in set in space.
Hmm.
And I said, look, why don't I put it on? And if after 20 minutes you're not into it, I'll turn it off. And so I put it on, and that was it. She was glued, and it was like as
Oh.
soon as the first one finished, she was like, "Oh, wait, what happens now?" And I said, "Don't worry, I've got the second one and the third one. Oh, let's put it on." And when the third one finished, she cried, proper ball.
Mm.
She was so. I think just telling that story shows you, you know, what an amazing skill it is for a filmmaker to elicit an emotional response like that from a person who hadn't even heard of the books, let alone read them. You know, she was
Mhm.
coming into this completely blind. I was a big fan, I think you are too, of the Ralph Bakshi animated one,
Yeah.
which only goes up to sort of halfway through the Two Towers. And I was deeply disappointed that they didn't make the second or planned sequel. I guess it didn't make enough money. So there was this constant thing of, is anyone going to make Lord of the Rings? When's the big fantasy epic coming out? And we got
Mm.
Willow, and it was okay, but it just wasn't the wasn't the fantasy epic I wanted. Then finally these came, and I saw all three of these films. Opening night, Leicester Square. And then the first time I saw Return of the King. No, sorry, not the first time. The first time I saw Return of the King special edition, they did a screening of all three special editions.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen all three special editions in the cinema as well, and that was like a 12-hour, with breaks and stuff, and people were all coming in dressed as hobbits and carrying pizza boxes and cushions and blankets and stuff, and but no one slept. I mean, I also, you know what? I can watch those films. I normally watch them once a year, always around Christmas time, and I'm never bored. They're just so good, and the director's cuts are in every way superior to the original cut. But I understand why. Peter Jackson said, look, a film can only be so long before you need the toilet. So, but they tie into so many positive moments in my life, and people that were in my life at the time that they came out, and I wasn't sure I was going to live to see the second or third film at one point.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and I wrote to Peter Jackson after The Two Towers and sent him a message. And actually, one of my novels is dedicated to Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, and I sent him a copy, and his then PA, who was a really lovely guy who unfortunately now has buggered off to Los Angeles and was replaced by a very frosty young man. But his original PA was really nice to me and would sort of say, Peter knows who you are. He thanks you for the book, and that kind of thing. He would sort of send me little messages back from him, which was very sweet. So there's Peter Jackson, definitely a man I would like to meet for sure. Yeah, and that's a film I would have loved to have been in, even as a orc or whatever. What about you? Now this is kind of the black sheep for you, because you're not a big fan of the Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah, and when I say I'm not a big fan, doesn't mean I don't like. I'm just not familiar with it as much, and I did read the books when I was little. I forgot a lot of it, and I did see The Hobbit that was animated, and also The Lord of the Rings when I was little, and those were really fun. And there were moments there that I do remember, but it's been years. And then my mom was like, "Oh, you've got to see the Lord of the Rings movies." And I did watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies, like, I don't know, maybe over 10 years ago.
What?
And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And that was it.
You need to watch them again. You probably haven't even seen the director's cuts.
I definitely have not seen any of that.
The
But
director's
and
cuts
so
add so much more. I mean, there's such richer films. There's just so much more in those.
yeah. So I'm not really qualified to say like any in-depth thing about it. I did like the movies. I did not like them. There were certain aspects that I definitely remembered a lot more than others. I had pacing issues with a lot of the stuff, but I understand it's been years. I could check it out again and see maybe there was something that I didn't, understand, or it's one of those things a lot of people love. And so I understand where everybody's coming from with their love of this franchise. So I support it 100%, thumbs up for everybody. And I truthfully admit I don't know enough about it to really comment on that.
There's a line in the first movie which is repeated twice, and the first time they're lost in the minds of Moria, and Gandalf and Frodo are kind of having a little one-to-one chat, and Frodo asks him something, and Gandalf says, "None of us." I can't, the exact line is, "None of us." The first part I can't quite remember, but something like, "None of us knows where our true paths lie. What's important is what you do with the time that is given to you."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that line, considering at the
I
time.
remember that.
Yeah, considering at the time, oh, this is such a good shot when they all rear their horses up, and Liv Tyler pulls her sword out. "If you want him, come and claim him," and so good. But yeah, that sent chills right down my spine. And the guy I was with, who knew I had some serious health issues at the time, it was not, my life prediction was quite short at that point. And I'd already been in and out of hospital a whole heap of times. He looked at me and I looked at him, and he knew exactly what I was thinking in that moment. And I remember that what got me through those years was I kept saying, "I've got to live to see the next Lord of the Rings film." So for me, they have also, not only do I think they're brilliant movies in every sense, I can't think of an actor that I don't like. There's one line where Sam accidentally slips into an American accent as opposed to his kind of semi-Yorkshire that he's doing. But these are minor gripes. So I've not only are they amazing films in terms of production design, costumes, sound design, sound editing, the score is amazing. The colors, the textures, I mean, everything about it is, it's the Lord of the Rings film that I always wanted. I don't mind the changes that they made. I don't mind the things that they altered. I think cinematically they were all great decisions. But I also have this massive personal attachment to the films in a much deeper sense, in terms of just thinking about what they got me through at the time. I've got to hang on. I've got to hang on another year because I've got to see the Two Towers, and
that matters. That really does.
Yeah, and by the time I saw Return of the King, I was well on the mend. So I was I was doing all right, and it wasn't so bad. But yeah, I mean, they are just great films. And again, if you haven't seen the director's cuts, I highly recommend them. I don't know anyone who has seen the director's cuts who goes back to the older versions and says, "I want to see those." So this is a Hobbit extra who's sleeping at the beginning of the first film. Now that shot, I think, is only in the extended version, because the opening monologue about Hobbiton is much longer, and they do this whole. It starts with the line regarding hobbits, and then there's a big speech about how they fit into the world. And I actually really like all that extra stuff at the beginning.
I liked all that. That was actually really great. I love the orcs. They were really amazing. I love those guys. I was like, I want a whole movie about those guys. I love the Fellowship. That was great.
Whoa.
There were also there were lots of other moments that I thought were really great, but I didn't get to really absorb the movie like I feel like I should have, because of probably the very same reason why why you absorbed it so well is the reason why I detracted it so well. I had a lot of personal stuff going on in my life. I love the movies, but I think my scope has opened up a lot more, like a shot like that. I live for stuff like that now. Whereas I think
that ring was actually pretty big. It was a
sports perspective, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was, they just because they wanted to get a really crisp shot of it. I think it was about 4 times the size of the one he actually wears or something.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's great. I love that. And so that's the kind of stuff I live for now. Back then, it was like I had other priorities, and I wasn't really concentrated on film quality. Well,
Well,
I wasn't in a bad place, but I was in a different place psychologically.
but now you're on the space station, and Elrond himself in this picture is saying it's time for you to rediscover the trilogy retro.
I sure will.
You can
I
tell
I I
his
have
face.
to get into Godzilla first though, but yeah. So it's like I have a lot of things I need to research, but Godzilla, and then we'll get into Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I might even do like a series of like rediscovery for a lot of movies that I haven't seen in many years that I want to kind of rediscover.
Yeah, I've got
And
a
there will be new
massive
one.
list. Got a massive list of films I want to do a show on, or a retro one, or it's a big list.
Yeah.
So, do you think there are, or there is, a feel-good trilogy that we haven't covered? Because if that's good, I mean, okay, I guess you could argue the original Raiders trilogy is a good trilogy overall.
Oh yes.
Because
Where it was supposed to end? Yeah.
yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, where it does end.
Yeah.
Never watching those movies again. Fourth and fifth one. There was some things in the fifth one I really liked, but the problems with it were so much bigger that unfortunately that stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I will
Right. Well,
definitely be a part of the I've seen it crew.
good
So
luck. Good luck with that.
but yeah, the first three movies were incredible. The first movie was sort of a shock to the senses. I remember seeing that with my mom, and just how amazed we were at what we were looking at, the adventure, and the action, and I don't know, the heroism, but also it wasn't quite heroism in many ways. He's just a man, but at and he doesn't really overcome any, like, he doesn't really like take over the bad guys, or beat them up and tie them up and send them to jail. He's he's sort of a lone wolf fighting against the impossible.
Mm.
And I love that about the Indy. He's just he's a professor with a particular set of skills, and he goes on many adventures. I kind of based my character, retro nerd girl, after Indy in many
Oh yeah.
ways. Yeah, because she's seeking his many missions to seek movies, and also to preserve them forever in a museum or of some sort. So,
Oh, look at those comments in the chat. Unicorn Rampant Studios. I always knew Retro had a Indiana Jones space hat. Yeah, that's a good point, sir.
well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, funny enough, another theme park story was, I think, that same year, or was it the next time I went? It might have been the next time I went, but yeah, I think it was. It was 92. Was they just opened the Indiana Jones stunt show in MGM?
Ooh.
Boy, was that good. You can see that on YouTube. And I've seen it 3 times with 3 different casts over the years. Every time I'd go back to Florida, I'd always go and see it again. And the cast were never as good as the very first cast that did it, because, again, I somehow ended up going the week that it had opened or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene at the beginning. It's the reenactment of the kind of the raiding of the idol of the temple sequence, and you've got the whole thing with the ball coming down, and but there's one bit where spikes come up through the floor, and I mean, the guy is dodging them by barely a millimeter,
Ugh.
They were so close to him. And I remember the times after I saw that, it seemed just a lot safer that the guys were further away. So I don't know if someone had an accident or
Oh,
what.
I'm sure.
But yeah, but
I'm
it
sure.
very good show though, really good fun. And
One of the really key set pieces or scenes, if you will, is the chase scene, the car chase
yeah,
scene,
yeah,
which
with the truck, yeah.
with the truck and
What truck? Yeah, and he goes after it on the horse, and
yeah, I mean on the horse like that, like whoever is doing the stunt for that, I mean,
so Vic Armstrong,
wow.
I think. Vic Armstrong, I think, did most of the doubling for Indy.
Well, he did a fantastic job on riding that horse and jumping on that car. It is something that we probably had seen like in earlier films where they were doing more dangerous stunts. And it's just kind of breathtaking to see that moment where he's on a hill first of all, and really really fastly, like coming down that hill with that horse and then jumping on the just insane action, and all the things that happen on that truck is just ridiculously exciting, and it just does something to your mind to see something like that. That was insane. That was insane. Also, just some of the clever things they had going on for him to discover as an archaeologist. The room where he uses the magnifying glass to
Yeah,
see
that's very,
is
very cool.
great,
Very
great.
cool.
Yeah, very creative. Um, just all of the little touches, all of the little touches, and then inserting comedy in there as well. How do you do that? It was wonderfully achieved. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I know that it may be frowned upon by many, but I did enjoy absolutely and thoroughly the Temple of Doom.
No, I mean, I like the Temple of Doom. I mean, I like the fact that it's quite dark.
Oh, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I just a couple of the effects look a bit dated, but I don't mind that too much. I just
Yeah.
think I think it could have done with one more country somehow. It's like it started off in Shanghai, they took a plane, they were in India, and then they were in India for the rest of the movie.
Well, a different part of India, yeah.
Well, yeah, but whereas in the other films he's kind of globe-trotting a bit, and there's always a treasure map almost. So it felt a bit more
You
confined,
wanted like one more layer, like they had to
yeah.
go get a key in order to get to this thing.
And I have to admit, no offense to the lovely actor concerned, and he is lovely, but at the time it was released, I found Short Round very annoying.
Oh my God, he was the best thing for me.
I like him now, but as a kid, when I saw the movie, I wasn't so keen.
Dr. Jones. I was like, he's so cute.
Yeah, no, I like him now. When I watch it now, I don't mind him at all. I think a lot of people hated Willie.
Yes, a lot of people did, and I loved her too.
Because she was the girlfriend of Spielberg at the time. I don't know if you're aware of this, but did you know there's a Lego set of this scene with the where he's climbing down into the temple with all the snakes?
No.
Well, guess what? I've got a picture here for you. So let me pop it up. It's quite fun to look at this. So this is the latest Indiana Jones. There's 3 Indiana Jones Lego sets out right now. One of them is from The Last Crusade, and the other 2 are from the first movie. This is the first one. I've got the second one for you as well, actually. So the second one is the whole temple raid sequence at the beginning of the movie, and here it is, complete with rolling ball and everything. So see if I can get it a bit bigger for you. Can we enlarge there we go, that's a bit better, isn't it? So you can tell it's an expensive set because it's in a black box. But look, you've got like Indy with the little idol thing. There's the guy who goes in the temple with him, who of course is played by Dr. Octopus. It's it does look like a cool set, and it's got I think you can see it's got the ball that rolls down and pits and all the different little traps and stuff. Looks like a lot of fun, that one. So next week on our toy channel will be somebody will be doing a review of that set already. I would
I'm
think.
sure we can find a whole bunch of
I was at the opening night of The Last Crusade, which came out in '89, and I took 40 people to see that movie.
Wow.
I still have a lot of the cinema tickets for that, because I couldn't go to the college ball because I was working that night and I couldn't get out of it. I was working at a cinema at the time. But this was still in the era when the movies came out in the West End of London 2 to 3 weeks before the national release. But what was even better was that the Empire Screen 1 had just reopened. And the film on the opening night was Indiana Jones, and it opened on a Wednesday. So I told everybody, right, this is my end of college celebration. We're all going to see The Last Crusade opening night. And then there was a national train strike that day, which was so annoying. So then we all had to work out who could drive, and we had to get cars. We made it, and then we had a great time. We went for dinner first.
Nice.
Yeah, it was something I only remember because I still have the cinema tickets for that. I had a big stack of them. And it was a good movie. This is him mapping out the shots. Look at that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's man. That's like a kind of really cool toy.
That's fun. Yeah, that's got to be a lot of fun.
I want that in my house.
Me too. What an iconic scene, that boulder.
Yeah. Well, this one too you were referring to earlier, where
there's so many iconic moments in this movie. It's like name it. You got the end scene with when they all perish from the ark, and you got the kiss scene where he's like where does it hurt? You got I mean
it's another
you
one of
got
those
the opening
where everything just worked, isn't it? Everything just worked.
Yeah,
casting, music, action.
You got the bar fight scene. That was insane.
That's a great action scene, because these guys will come in with German MP40 machine guns, and someone gets set on fire. This sequence is incredible.
Yeah, that sequence was. I mean, it has two big moments in this sequence, and it's like, wow. Okay, and it kept ramping up and kept ramping up and kept ramping up. It was great.
Because it's got the bit where the spirits are all flying around, and one of them comes up close to one of the bad guys, and it looks like this beautiful angel, and he's like, "It's beautiful," and then it turns into this horrible kind of evil creature. Yeah. And I think it probably would have been beautiful if it hadn't have sensed evil. This is one of my favorite scenes, and this scene is
another one, yeah. And this is another one that has two moments in it where it's like you've got the plane and you got Mary and you got the explosion, but you also got the fight scene with the that brawler, and it's just like, what?
That's the stuntman who also played General Kale in
Willow.
Willow. He's sadly no longer with us,
Yes.
but he did a number of stunts and often played villains.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah, that's the one of the sequences they recreate in the Indiana Jones stunt show. By the way, of these three actors, I've met two of them. I met Paul Freeman was in a play with a friend of mine, Danny Webb, who I've interviewed on the channel, and they did a play called Art together with another actor who sadly passed away now. And I got to meet, because I was there to meet Danny after the show. I got to meet with Paul as well, and he'd been in a couple of other favorite films of mine, including Who Dares Wins, about the SAS. So we had a nice little chat, and he's a lovely, lovely man. Camp as Christmas, but really lovely. Wolf Kahler on the left, who is your kind of German bad guy for hire, and some people might remember that he does the speech to the defeated German soldiers in the last episode of Band of Brothers. It's a great speech, and he does it in German, and one of the Americans translates it, and everything he's saying relates also to the men whose story we've followed through. He's a much better actor than the roles he's given, because he does play a lot of kind of cartoon German bad guys. But I was walking back to my house with my ex-partner, and him and his partner were walking straight towards us, and I went, "My God, Wolf Kahler!" And he was like, "Yes," and he still has a very strong German accent, and he's like nearly 7 feet tall. I mean, he's like super
really? Wow.
tall. Yeah, maybe not 7, but he's like 6'6" or something. And he was house hunting. He was they'd just been to see a house, and we talked briefly about Band of Brothers and a couple of other things. And very nice man. Don't think I've met anyone else from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but those two people I have met. Yeah.
All of these visuals look fantastic.
I know. I mean,
they really do look great.
And there's so much use of CGI in the latest one.
What, like, so that's what's really like blowing my mind right now. Like, look at how great this looks. And why would you give that up to be in a green screen room? Like, I don't understand it.
It's not just the
it's the film.
It's not just the effects. It's the way the colors pop and the way you've got the grain. And obviously that's the difference between shooting on film and there you go. There's Pat Roach.
Yes,
but
it's a film. It's also there's there's so much involved there, and I don't know. Maybe it's the choice in cinematography. They just don't make them like that anymore. I don't know what's going on, but this looks fantastic. It looks so crisp and so like you feel like you're almost right there. It looks like beautiful artwork. Even those composite shots, or look at this. It's a seamless composite shot. You don't even know that it's a composite shot at all. You know?
Yeah. Oh, the iconic chase scene.
What a great moment.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the best of the three movies. I rate them in the order of 1, 3, and then 2. But some of the effects in The Last Crusade have dated badly. Like the stuff with the fighter plane looks very fake now.
Yeah.
But still great films, you know. Still great.
I think what wins in Crusade is definitely that father-son thing that they had going, and the comedy and all that. That's beautiful. Like that really makes that film set apart from all the others.
And the way Jones Senior is just not impressed by even his most incredible antics, like the bit where he's riding along in the sidecar, and Indy does all those things to defeat the Germans following, and then his father's just like, looking at him going, yeah, whatever, and he's playing with his watch or something, and stopped like his little pocket watch. Yeah, that whole stuff is.
They find out that they have entanglements with the same young lady.
Yeah.
And Indy is kind of looking at Dad like, what?
They're both tied up to that chair in the Nazi castle, and she's kind of whispering through the walls, and neither of them can see them. I just want you to know that what happened between us means a lot to me. And Indy's just about to answer, and then his father jumps in and says, "Oh, well, thank you. It meant a lot to me too." Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's just the little touches that were done, and that's dialogue, just done really well and written well. The action sequences did they were good. The that scene in particular, them getting out of that situation, I thought that was very clever. All of that stuff, but the end part with the tanks were a little bit much for me.
In the Last Crusade, you mean?
Yeah, some of it worked, some of it didn't work for me. Wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
But I still appreciated all of it altogether. It didn't really, make me question it too deeply. But Temple of Doom also has its moments where things don't look crispy, perfect. But I did enjoy it as sort of like a ride, if you will. And particularly that movie has some influences, I believe, taken from a movie called She. And
I've seen that film. I've seen it.
You've seen it, but not like the earlier one, the one that was done in the 30s.
Oh no, I saw the one that was in video stores in the early 80s with the provocative cover with ladies in scantily clad armor kind of thing.
Of course you saw that one. Well, let's see if I can get the exact date for you.
I was not aware that there was another one until this conversation.
Yeah, no, 1935 I reviewed it on my channel, and there are some very, very similar concepts in it. One of the guys that's in the story is sort of an action hero type guy, and then there is a priest that wears a very similar garb to the bad guy in Temple of Doom.
Would the 1930s version of She originally been a Saturday morning serial? Because that's what Spielberg based the whole indie franchise on, was these 15, King of the Rocket Men,
I think
those kinds of shows. That
was his initial, to have that same energy. Like you have this, huge action piece, and then, for the next episode, you get, you go into yet another action piece. And they did that brilliantly in the first movie. They really captured that sense of like, how many times can we have our character go into a different action scene? Yeah. And even how can we have multiple action scenes going on at the same time without taking too much away from the thrill? And I think, and we'll go back to Star Wars a little bit. They did the same thing in Star Wars, where you had, Luke and Vader fighting, but at the same time you had this extreme, exciting battle happening in space. So you have these two battles happening at once, and you're switching from the camera back and forth to the two battles. I think they did it very well in the serials back in the day, and so he used a lot of that kind of like structuring for his storytelling. But I think if I can, I'm going to try to get a visual for you.
Yeah.
This.
Ray Harryhausen has colorized the film. In 2006, there's a colorized version of She existing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'd quite like to watch this.
It's not like the best thing you've ever seen, but there's a lot of influences to pop culture for this film, and especially the Queen. She
Yeah,
they
she's
modeled her.
Willow, the Queen and Willow got the same helmet and everything.
Well, and also the Queen in, I believe is it Snow White or is it Sleeping Beauty?
Oh,
One of
no,
the
yeah, no, I think you're right. Probably,
you won't.
probably
Yeah,
Snow White.
they actually did use her image as a guide or whatever.
I've got a picture of the evil queen, but it's not a great one. But whack it up quickly. You can clearly see the influence of these movies on sort of the Lucas Spielberg duo, even from just this one image. It's pretty.
Let me see.
That's the evil queen from She, right?
Yes.
Julius Adler plays the high priest in
So
She.
yeah, look at that image there.
Yeah.
You see that? That looks just like the
Yeah.
evil
The
bad guy.
end of
Yeah.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just so happens that there's a fiery pit that he is guarding over.
Yeah.
That circle is a fiery pit in which he was going to throw somebody inside of. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's really cool to notice that kind of stuff because I love to see where people are getting their inspiration from.
No,
I
yeah,
love.
yeah. Spielberg's often talked about, these iconic black and white shows that he watched in his childhood, and of course,
Mhm,
don't forget there weren't as many movies made back then, so he probably would have seen this on re-release in '49.
mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I also think there's probably a good chance that the film a lot of these films got serialized for Saturday mornings. I didn't realize there's two other versions of it. They made one in '65 with
Yes,
Ursula
65.
Andress. Yeah,
Christopher Lee is in that one. He's playing.
Peter Cushing too.
Yeah, he's playing the priest in that one. Uh,
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, very evil bad guy.
Uh,
And then there was a more recent version of
yeah.
She,
So
but
that
that's not related at all.
that's the 1982. I think it's an Italian.
Sandra Bernhal is in that one.
Uh, yeah, Sandra Bergman,
Bergman, yes.
Sandil Bergman.
Sandal Bergman, yes.
I think she was in Conan.
Conan the Barbarian, yes.
Yeah. That was back in the day when it was like, you were looking for stuff in the video shop, and of course, I was a big fantasy nut, so we got tricked into renting quite a few terrible movies. Wizards of the Lost
I used to
Kingdom.
love those so much.
Well, some of them I listened. There were some great ones. Sword and the Sorcerer. What an amazing film. And of course I became friends with the director later in life, and incredible man, how Albert Boone. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones where they put on a cool cover, and you sort of saw the poster and you were like, oh yeah, that looks good. Let's rent that out. And this is the cover for the 1983 or 84 version. So we thought, yeah, that looks good, and we got it back, and it was just like this very kind of low rent, weird Conan movie meets with a splash of Mad Max. I did do a stream where we talked about, we did our top 5 fantasy movies from 1970 to 1990, and of course, Sword and the Sorcerer was in my top 5, absolutely. I'm trying to remember what my number one pick was. Clash of the Titans. No, sorry. The other one. Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh, okay.
And that was also my guest co-host Matt, who you've met, I think, who's the filmmaker. That was his number one pick. But before we went into all those, we kind of let's look at some of the other fantasy films that came out in that time period. So we got into all the Italian straight to video films, and that's really what they were. And I guess how you find them now sort of probably it kind of depends on how they sit with you nostalgically, I think. Yeah, but there were some good ones. There were some good ones. Just like there was a lot of Mad Max rip-offs, and there were a couple of those. There was one called Wheels of Fire that I actually really enjoyed.
We were talking about how those movies really there was some overlap with She, the 1935 movie, as far as being an influence to Temple of Doom, and how fascinating that was to discover. And there's some other things too. Like I think as with Indiana Jones, as we move further and further to the present day, it seems like they're really, really being influenced by today or the times, and so it did change. Like it was at one point going back from inspiration back to the past, and then now it's sort of trying to um, figure out what it is. And I think that's probably why the last two movies didn't have that feeling as we had in the first three. The first three seemed to play on nostalgia in the perfect way. I do hold those three quite dearly. I'll watch them anytime. There is some controversy from Temple of Doom with the country of India, and how people felt like they should have been represented, and it is definitely I think it wasn't meant to be done that way, but it ended up coming off that way, unfortunately. And so there is a stigma behind that movie there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to sort of keep it in perspective that don't forget the movie is a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders is set roughly in, I think it's 1937 or 1938, something like that.
That's good to definitely.
Yeah. Temple of Doom is set in 1935. In 1935 in India, there was mass poverty. It was a very, very different country to what it is now. And then also you have to remember this is a fictional comic book.
That's where I sit with that, but it's not it's not Africa, or even if so, I wouldn't have anything to say about that. But it is a fictional piece of work, and sort of the people eating monkey brains. We know, right, that's not accurate. It's for this movie and what they were trying to say about not the people, but these characters.
Yeah,
these characters.
They were not trying to make any statements about the culture. No, they were just trying to put Jones in an increasingly uncomfortable situation so Winnie could scream even more. But
Andy!
What's weird is that I've just noticed that of the 9 main speaking cast of the original Star Wars movie, only 4 of them are still alive. So James Earl Jones, who is one half of Darth Vader, is still alive. Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, still alive. Harrison Ford, and the wonderful Mark Hamill. Kenny Baker, R2-D2, passed away. Peter Mayhew passed away. Princess Leia passed away. Alec Guinness, of course, a long time ago, passed away. David Prowse, who was in the suit for Vader, passed away. So yeah, man, it's of all those people, I think Mark Hamill's probably the nicest person in real life. And I really got a lot of time for Mark Hamill. And he's a much better actor than he didn't get a lot of chances after Star Wars. He has done some good stuff, but he's a much better actor than the roles he should have been given after Star Wars. You know, he could play some really big heavy parts, and I wish people would. He definitely should do a really big meaty role in some massive film, like a serious role. You know, a sort of Dead Poets Society kind of. The sort of roles that go to Paul Giamatti. He needs to get one of those.
He had a movie come out this year, just didn't get any publicity.
What was that called?
Ooh, yeah.
All right, well, topic for another time. I think we should wrap up.
Check it out on IM.
I will. I'll have a look.
But he did put out a movie this year. But anyway, Lance, once again, thank you for a wonderful, stimulating conversation about movies, and feel-good movies are the best. I just want to know what is going on for you in the next week or so.
On my YouTube channel, I was about to say I still haven't won the lottery, and my dating life is rubbish. But where my YouTube channel is concerned, yeah, no. Joking aside, yeah, I've got a couple of really cool things coming up. Actually, first of all, I'm doing a show called the Nielsen Ratings. It's most Tuesdays at 10 p.m. We just did the first one. It's taken over from what was my weekly roundup show. So 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. East Coast, most Tuesdays. Now, next Tuesday, it's not happening. I'll tell you why that is. Why that is because one of the people I interviewed earlier this year was Paul Bidis, who is the military historical advisor on Napoleon.
Okay.
But he couldn't talk about Napoleon at that time. So what's happening is he did an interview with a paper recently, and they misconstrued a couple of things that he said. And he asked if he could come on my channel and do a little interview again, because he wanted to kind of reframe some of those things. And then I thought, well, actually, I knew that Will was going to do a Critical Drinker was going to do a Napoleon stream with this historical guy. And I thought, actually, this would be a really good sort of combined guest list. So I said, would you prefer to have a few 100,000 views as opposed to a few thousand views to Paul, you know? So to cut a long story short, we're going to be on Drinker's channel at 7 p.m. GMT, so that'll be 2 p.m. East Coast. I mean, of course, it will stay up there. It's going to be a special program. I'm not sure what he's calling it. I guess it's a VIP guest or something. And Paul Bidis is coming on, and we're gonna talk to him about Napoleon. Now he's going to be making the call from the set of Gladiator 2, which is where he is right now. So that's.
And what day is that?
That's next Tuesday.
Okay.
7 p.m. Then one other thing, I've got two things to mention. We've got the YouTubers movie quiz coming up on, I think, 17th of December, because it's a Sunday, and you're helping me keep score.
Okay, yeah.
Got about 4 people per side. I've already picked out a load of topics, but this is going to be a lot of fun. On the 18th of December with the Uninspired Reviewer, we're doing a parody review of this.
Okay.
So this is the fictional version of Napoleon that appears in the film Get Shorty. We're going to do an absolutely like massive in-depth review of this movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be doing an in-depth review of a movie that doesn't actually exist, but it will all become clear if you watch it. It is going to be extremely funny, I think. It's with Martin Weir as Napoleon, of course. So looking forward to doing that, I think that might be my last one. No, I'm doing a Nielsen ratings the day after that, and then I think that Nielsen ratings on the 20th will probably be my last stream before Christmas. At the moment, I'm spending Christmas Day on my own. So if I am spending Christmas Day on my own, I will be doing a stream on Christmas Day.
Okay.
I think we said we might say hello to each other if that does happen.
Yeah, I might not do any. I may just be out of commission completely that day, but we'll
Yeah.
see. But
It
that
is
sounds like
Christmas
fun. We'll
Day.
see. We'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
I definitely
I might get invited somewhere. Somebody might take pity on me and say, "Come for dinner," kind of thing. So,
yeah, you told me that, so I was like, oh, okay.
we'll see what
Um,
happens.
yeah.
I actually, it's a cultural thing in Denmark. Christmas is a very big thing. You're supposed to spend it with friends and family, and I've really got no family to speak of now, so it does feel very weird being on your own at Christmas. Not a nice thing if you're used to celebrating it a certain type of way.
Yes.
Some people don't mind it, but I hate it. So we'll see. Hopefully, I'll do something. Take my private jet to Retro's ranch. We'll teleport up to the space station. Do Christmas in zero gravity with a space turkey.
Oh boy, it will be vegan.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're a vegan. Yeah,
Yes,
vegan turkey.
it'll be a tofu turkey.
Tofu turkey. That's a good name for a movie. Tofu turkey. That could be a great Christmas film.
Yes. Well, we want to say thank you for joining us today, Lance. My goodness, that was fun. Yeah, I laughed through the whole process watching that. So I hope you guys had fun as I did. I know a couple of the things that were mentioned probably doesn't fall under the feel good, but I think it's when it comes to feel good, I think it is personal to each person. I do welcome anyone who would like to be a part of the conversation, to join me for the live stream, to actually be on screen here and talk to me about any of your favorite movies, the things that make, feel good movies. But the series is closing out. We have one more left, and then we're going to move on to other topics, and then possibly bring feel good, um, the feel good movies back, maybe maybe once a month or something like that. We'll see what happens, because there are some other topics I know that other people want to talk about. But I kind of like the idea of that we're singling out like a couple of movies here and there and talking about like 8 movies or 7 movies, and really kind of expanding our description of them and talking about them a little bit in detail, but not fully giving a full deep dive of the movies. So that's kind of been fun. It seems to be doing well. You guys seem to be liking it. But let's go through some of the things that may be happening in the future. Let's see if I can pull my thing up. Let's look into the crystal ball and see what is happening in the future. All right, tomorrow night, Gremlins, 1984. We're doing the watch party for that, and that seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. I do love that movie so much, so expect me to be laughing all the way through. And we've got Sunday Patreon people. Please do look out for updates and mission statements and goals for the channel. I like to let you guys know about all the things that are going on in the channel. But for everybody else, you will finally get to see my new movie review on Sunday. So I hope that you will keep an eye out for the movie review that I have, and I'm going to be releasing on Sunday. The Patreon guys, they had it since last Sunday, so they had early access. So that's one of the perks of being a Patreon member. But on Monday, I got a brand new movie for you guys on Monday for members of this channel. Man, it is. I had such a good time watching this movie, so I can't wait for you to see um, uh, the what I put together as far as my first impressions. So I can't wait to share that with you. On Wednesday, we are going to be looking at the new movie on Netflix, Candy Cane Lane. Is it on Netflix? Yeah. Or is it on Netflix or is it on Amazon? I keep forgetting which one. But Candy Cane Lane is one that I think it's on Amazon, not on Netflix. Um, and I've been looking forward to this, a new holiday movie with Eddie Murphy. This is different. I would like to see this. So I'll be watching it and giving you my modern take on that. Then next Friday, we're going to have the feel good movies, as I mentioned before. Hopefully, Lance can meet up with us in person for that one. And I do have my extensive list here. And like, I invite any one of you guys, if you want to be on the show, just send me an email. Let me know if it is that you want to actually be on camera and do the show with me. That would be great. Then let's see. Next Saturday we'll be doing Gojira 1954, the watch party for that. I can't wait. And as an update, I lost one of the links to where I could see the movie, and then I forgot I've got HBO Max, so I can watch it on HBO Max. I mean, I forget all the streaming services I'm supplied to, and it's just like, uh, yeah, there's a lot of streaming services. I still don't have Apple, and then there's another one that I don't have, but um, I think I'll live, you know. Then there is, let's see, um, I wanted to share something else with you. Oh yes, we'll be doing on the 5th. Sorry, which movie was it? Oh, on the 16th, I'll be doing It's a Wonderful Life watch party. And let's see, A Christmas Story on the 23rd. I'm definitely gonna take that Christmas day off. I think I'm not gonna do anything at all. But I was thinking about doing a New Year's Eve bash. What do you guys think about that? It would be on this Sunday the 31st, a nice like uh, New Year's Eve bash slash marathon, something like that. Let me know, and I definitely invite anyone who would like to be a part of that to let me know and reach out to me, either through my email or through X, uh, the X platform. And yeah, that should be so much fun. I think I was just like, New Year's Eve. When was the last time you did something for New Year's Eve? Really, I haven't done anything for New Year's Eve in so very, very long. So that would be kind of fun to do something there. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comments here. We've got, let's see. And we got William Blake Hall says, there are movies I love, but I could hardly sell as a feel good. I love Flatliners, the original, but that may be seriously intense for some. Yeah, definitely. um, eh, And Keith E says, if Jill is here to chat video, did she leave the chat? She probably did, but I will reach out to her and see if she's available to stop by one of these days, and we should do something here. That'd be wonderful to have her as a guest. And Unicorn Rampant Studio says, Christmas mixed holiday classic regrooved. Yes, and I have, I have my own list that I'm going to share with you guys soon. I do have a very long, long list of holiday music that, if you so desire, you could probably use. But I do have a really intense playlist. You can find it right now, but I'm gonna probably post it on the one of the Fridays where I want to talk about different things. One Friday I want to talk about Christmas songs, and then the other Friday I want to talk about like Christmas movies in general, but not just any Christmas movies. Our ultimate favorite, our favorite ones. Um, and Kristen Brad says, Unicorn, that Christmas music looks great. Thanks. Yeah, I want to see that so bad. I'm gonna definitely check out the link there. And Unicorn says it's a rare mix of time periods and sentiment that works very well. Ooh, okay. I can't wait. And Sunbear says it's very different and happy. Yes. And it says it's very upbeat. And Keith says, no other than that, Jill um, gave you a super. Uh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So thank you very much, Jill, for the super chat. And also, if you are still here, I'm not sure if you're still here, but here's a thank you for reminding me, Keithy. Uh, Here's a quick. Well, thank you. Of course, I was dancing too. I was dancing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I think we're all set, and I'm gonna head out now. So, also, did you guys like the shorter intro, or were you missing the longer intro? I mean, it's really, really short. But yeah, if you let me know what your comments are on that. While I'm heading out the door, yeah, you guys can let me know. And also, I oh no. Or Keith, he says, last year Hooper wrapped himself in Christmas paper so he can live in the present. Oh, that's so sweet. And William Blake Hall says, I'll be like 22. Anyone want to be 23? And a unicorn says, sorry, it was so short. I missed it. It was really short. It was super, super short. There really wasn't much. It made me giggle though sometimes, just seeing how short that was. And some friend says, I found some Barbie Christmas wrapping. Oh wow, yeah, that is. Ah, Barbie is amazing. I love that. I love Barbie. Yeah. Well, okay, yes. So I do still have the 3-minute outro. And I'm probably gonna shorten that up, but once I get to the beginning of the year, I think I'll have everything a little bit, like I said, a little bit more crisper, a little bit more automated. And the whole point, I guess, of it all is to make it easier for just make it easier for us to get right into the topics. It really shortens it. I wanted it to be a lot longer, but let me know. Keep me informed of how this is feeling temperature wise. Like, does it feel right, or what? For me, it's kind of strange and unusual because I'm not used to it. Um, And so Brett, so sweet, says thinking of you, retro hugs. Oh my goodness, thank you. Well, first of all, it's really awesome to see you in the chat today. And as usual, so many wonderful stories you share with us. Thank you so much. And Keith A says, I was 23. Thanks for the reminder. Well, oh yes, yes. Because sometimes I forget too. Yeah, it is always really awesome to hit that like button. Lets YouTube know all sorts of things about the channel and helps me to grow a little bit bigger. All right, so guys, without further ado, I bid you adieu, and I will see you in the next video.
Retro Nerd Girl, you are clear for takeoff.